Hey everybody, I'm here live on site at Studley Brewing with Blake Edmunds. Blake, has it really been about a year and a half since you and I first met?
Gosh, that's like semi-depressing to think about because that means it's been that long since we've tried to get our doors open. But yeah, it's probably been that long now.
Well, I think in like true CBP fashion, everybody meets on the internet, but we got connected because I had a friend who knew I was playing in CBP Connects Virginia, and he was like, you got to talk to this guy Blake. At the time, you were in South Carolina, and we were looking for unique speakers, and you bring together such unique perspective from your sports background, but you are also planning to open a brewery here in Chesapeake, Virginia. Yeah. So I guess before we dive in, like, what do you do in the world of beer?
I brew it and run Studley Brewing here in Chesapeake, Virginia, along with about 17 other hats I feel like wear at the brewery. Just trying to create an awesome experience here at Studley, basically.
So we first spoke, like I mentioned, about a year and a half ago. And at that point in time, you did not have this beautiful facility we're sitting in. I think you were close to signing a lease, but you weren't quite there yet.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, about then. That was we were just getting our brand packaged together and identity that way, and we're looking at spaces. And geez, that might have been not even the final space when we talked. It was one that I was hoping to get that I'm very glad didn't work out, and that this one did.
So it's interesting you mentioned your brand because you've won awards for your brand even before you launched. But like looking at the whole checklist you had to do before you got open, where did branding fall? What was else towards the top of your list? You know, what were your things you really wanted to knock out in the early days?
Yeah, I think our brand and our vision and what we wanted the place to look and feel like was paramount, because we wanted to get our website, social media platforms, our look and feel down. We could do that before even having a brick and mortar place. And I knew, coming from my marketing background, I knew how important that was to have a strong brand identity and awareness, and to really start as soon as possible building that up. So by the time we got the doors open, everyone was already very well established with who we are and what we look like. That part was huge. And then second to that, especially during that time, and still a little bit now, the world of supply chain and manufacturing and getting anything was extremely tough. So starting contracts and getting manufacturing rolling on some of our larger equipment that I knew was going to take 6+ months to actually get in the door. That part was probably second, and then identifying the location and who could help with actually building this project out. I'm not that skilled with a hammer, so try and find someone that would pair well with trying to make that vision a reality too.
So I want to go back to the branding and building the awareness, because we hinted at what you did before beer, but go into it for a minute. Like, what did you do before you opened a brewery?
Yeah, so I worked in collegiate athletics and minor league baseball for 15 years. It all started as an undergrad, dancing around at Chicken Suit, Cocky the mascot for University of South Carolina, and really kind of that experience led to my passion of wanting to work in collegiate athletics and behind the scenes, more so in the front office, marketing, fan experience, basically getting people to games and making sure they have a great time while they're there. And that focused a lot on branding, getting the message out, and then taking care of our fans with what we can control on game days.
So Studley Brewing, you can kind of see it in the video right here. Talk to us about what the brand is. I mean, you have a baseball-themed brewery.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. At its core, it is a baseball-themed brewery or brew pub. We're serving artisan pizzas and salads, ballpark fare, as well as craft brews, all in a very family-friendly brewery atmosphere that is very baseball-themed. We took that theme and really ran with it. It's been a lot of fun. There's baseball is pretty universally liked. It's kind of touching back into the namesake of the whole place. The Studley Club was the self-given name my buddies and I growing up. We're kind of a ragtag group of dudes who grew up playing Little League baseball together and still live in the area together. And then with my background in sports and love of the sport, baseball, and some great talent coming from the area, it just felt like pun intended home run.
There are going to be lots of sports puns today.
There might be.
So do you have a mascot yet?
That is funny. We are actually in the design phase of our mascot for Studley. So I'm working with my stellar graphic designer on that, and with my mascot connections in the past, have our production team based out of South Carolina on standby, waiting to make it a reality. So I'm very excited. Hopefully, in the next couple months, to have that roll out here in its entirety.
So mascots are such an integral part of any sport event
Yeah.
that you go to. How do you plan to incorporate a mascot into what you're doing here at Studley?
It's a great question. I mean, it adds to the feel of coming to a game, and being a part of the ballpark experience. I feel just like, planning to, have maybe T-shirt tosses during.
You're gonna bring a big old cannon and shoot that.
We talked about that, but those puppies are really high powered. Probably blow some person's face off.
Maybe a light slingshot, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like a light underhand throw, maybe appropriate with people who may be a couple pints in. But yeah, so using the mascot to interact with fans here. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities from a marketing standpoint that having a physical mascot opens yourself up to being in front of for free. So different sporting events where they may have mascot nights, different festivals, beer festivals, all types of different festivals or events around the area where you can portray your brand in a unique setting that also fits into who we are, and it's not just completely
Does the mascot have a name yet that you're able to reveal?
I'm going to keep it under wraps.
Okay, we'll keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot wait to see this mascot and see what you do with it.
I'm excited about it too.
So,
and I'm excited to put on a mascot suit again.
Again,
it's maybe a little bit more personal.
It's gonna be a really sentimental, important experience.
Yeah.
No, I love it. So we talked about the branding. Now you found the location in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I was actually in Chesapeake, Virginia, the first 5 years of my life. I've lived here. I don't really remember it a lot. You're about 20 minutes from my house, so we're essentially neighbors.
Yeah.
But a while back, it was kind of funny that I remember Chesapeake being named the third or fourth most boring city in America by some publication online.
That's
How did you? Yeah, you don't remember that?
Now that you say that, yeah.
It was like 2013 or 2014. It was just one of those silly clickbait type news articles that went around. But it's always been kind of funny. Another thing that I remember, like our city where I live, Norfolk, Virginia, was named like the best water in Virginia at one point. Those little trivial pieces you just remember. So how did you decide upon Chesapeake? And how are you making Chesapeake a little less boring?
No, that's great. Great question. I mean, I grew up here in Chesapeake. My formidable years, you'd say, here in Chesapeake. Went to high school down the road. It was a number of factors. I felt like I knew the area pretty well and knew what it had to offer, and knew what it may have been lacking or could use some more of. Living around in cities like Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the outskirts of Columbia, South Carolina, in the city, and have the opportunity to visit a lot of different places across the country with great local flair and excitement, in local businesses. The amount of value I feel that those local businesses and restaurants and breweries add to a city really makes its character. And I felt that Chesapeake could use more of that. I knew it had the potential, and I knew it had its own character. But I felt there could use some more, local, restaurant, brewery support. I felt it was in a world that people, say is saturated, by breweries. I felt like there was an open opportunity here to really capitalize on.
So looking at Chesapeake, ballpark, about how many breweries do we have right now? What's the population of the area?
It depends on, I guess, where you want it. So Chesapeake as a whole, and this kind of gets into how I kind of feel the brewery world is right now. It's not oversaturated. It is more hyper local more than anything. We're in Chesapeake, but we're in kind of this area of Chesapeake, Great Bridge, Hickory. It's weird. There's no counties here in this area, so people always talk about counties. So we don't have counties. We have cities and all that stuff. But you're called a county, I guess. Hickory, Great Bridge, Deep Creek, Western Branch, the part of the Hampton Roads is where we're kind of focused in. And if you look into that area, there's only really kind of 2 of us in the area. Expand out a little bit more, you'd say 4 of us in the Chesapeake area. I think roughly around that, depending on where you kind of establish Chesapeake. With being one of, I think, still the maybe 3rd, maybe 4th largest city in the state. That was surprising to me.
You saw opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, that little for one of the largest cities in the Commonwealth was pretty surprising to me. And I know folks in this area, just neighbors and everything too. They were just chomping at the bit for something more. Not to say what was here was not fabulous and great, but people like change. Some people don't like change, but some people like variety, and be able to add some variety to the area for someone that was thirsty for more of a place that they can call their own and not always have to travel to Norfolk or Virginia Beach to find that.
I mean, it's nice to have that brewery within a few miles of your house you can call your own. I mean, that's what
Absolutely.
we're all looking
Yeah.
for. I'm guilty of not going outside my comfort zone sometimes, so it's really nice when I do to explore. But once again, it's nice to have them in your own backyard.
Absolutely.
So looking at who you expected to come to your brewery, like earlier on, who were you marketing to? Who do you anticipate filling your tap room when you opened up?
Yeah, so we kind of hit into a few different demographics that we were really targeting hard. Young families being one of them that was really high. Ball teams, for kind of different post-season parties and things like that. There's another that father-son, mother-daughter type of outing that you can have with kind of shared experience with. Those traveling from out of town on a quick trip, maybe visiting friends, the place that, we got to take so-and-so to Studley, being top of mind for that when thinking of somewhere to kind of show off. And I think those were the main ones in particular that we were targeting.
So a lot of what you just said isn't what you typically think of when you think of, who's going to fill a tap room.
Yeah.
Why did you think it was important to focus on those types of people?
Where we are located, right off a very busy interstate that has a lot of traffic going to vacation, the Outer Banks, was a big part of that traveling group. Also, this is a big military area too, so there are a lot of people that are relocated to this area that are from across the country that have a lot of family and friends that are going to be visiting them because now they live in Chesapeake. So knowing that there's going to be a lot of transient folks coming through that way. And then just where I felt a strong wheelhouse, being a young parent, I guess, not as young parent anymore, it feels, having that experience of taking my kids to a restaurant and the struggles and stress that can go into that in order to find a place that I can sit back and relax, knowing that they are relaxed, is hard to find. You get a small group when you want to take your kids out. So, or small group of places that you think of when you want to bring your kids out. Where I thought, wow, it would be great to offer something to the number of families out there that are looking for just a comfortable place to take their kids. And then being a baseball, themed brewery, I mean, it'd be stupid not to get involved with the local ball teams here in the area, and be a place that they feel they can call home here too.
I know the first time I came here, I was sitting almost at this exact same table we are right now. There's literally a dedicated kids area 6 feet from where I'm at right now. And, recently in CBP, there was a fun thread on kids and brewery, which is always a fun conversation to have. But how has it gone so far, having that kids area? Because we all like to have that place, those of us with kids, who we could take them safely. when they behave, of course. We don't want to take our screaming kids anywhere when they're not on their best behavior, of course,
Absolutely.
especially to your breweries, everybody watching and listening.
Yeah.
But, how has it gone having literally, you have 2 little picnic tables for kids over there and a ton of toys.
Yeah.
How's it gone?
I think it's gone extremely well. And not everyone's going to agree with me on that. But I'll give you a couple examples too. So we've had a couple of people that have come in and been like, hey, we don't want to come into a babysitting place, a kid's playroom. It's just not their field. I get that. That's cool. Maybe we're not the brewery for you. But on the flip side, I have had a number that either come to my GM, my staff, myself, of parents who have come and said, thank you. Thank you for having a place that we feel comfortable coming to. They say they cannot tell you how many places they've been to where their kid is maybe loud or being a kid, as they tend to be, and they get looks and they feel that when that happens, they're the ones that have to leave. Where here they feel that happens and someone has a problem with it, those folks can find somewhere else, I guess. They feel like more the majority, a place that they can relax, be comfortable. I mean, that demographic deserves a beer as well, from time to time. So that being able to cater to that and being able to have a place that the kids are excited to go to. There's a number of folks that even said that they come out for just an adult night, and their kids find out that they went to Studley. They're like, WTF? I want to go to Studley. Like, why are you going there? So I think that's very exciting to be a place that the decision makers of the household.
Well, the kids are the decision makers, right?
Exactly.
They're choosing to come to Studley.
Decision makers in that sense, the moms of that sense too, want to come there, and so decide that like, hey, let's go to Studley. I'm cool with it.
Are there any rules you have posted, or how do you keep the kids from getting too unruly?
Sometimes that's a fine line. Telling people how they need to parent their kids and everything is not something you want to really get into in entanglement with. But there's sometimes some tough nights where some kids you're just like, really? And we'll have just nice conversations about it, and 9 times out of 10 it's addressed, and they give them to calm down. Or
can you give me an example of, like, say my kid's going crazy, throwing that helmet against the wall? Like, how do you and your staff, or how are you even training your staff to handle situations like that?
Yeah, sometimes it's we don't have like we have that kids corner, but sometimes the corner starts to expand out and they start to take over different territories within the restaurant or brewery, and you just kind of have to corral them back in, and it's just having a conversation with the kid, like, hey buddy, why don't you come back over this way a little bit, and sometimes, a lot of times when we engage with the kid that way in a nice friendly manner, the parents acknowledge it and be like, oh, hey, let me come here and take care of this. And I mean, the parents have been great. The place becomes a war zone a little bit with toys all over the place, but they deal with it at home too and realize like, hey, we'll come help clean this up and make it back to a more manageable place. And very rarely do we have to actually come up to the parent and be like, hey, it's getting a little crazy. Can you help us out? A little bit.
I mean, I think it really comes down to the fan experience you're trying to create. And I use the fan experience term intentionally because I think that you want people to be a fan of Studley, and you want the kids to be a fan of Studley.
Yeah.
And if you know what to expect going into it, you're not going to be as upset, I suppose.
Yeah, I think very much so.
So looking at this place, you talked about all the demographics that you marketed to. How are you reaching them before your doors even open?
I think one of the biggest pieces we tried to just build up was just our digital presence. One from a social media standpoint, and then also from an email marketing standpoint, which was.
And you had the email marketing going before you even opened your doors.
Yes, yeah, that was huge. Collecting as many emails as possible, that voluntarily, not from just buying lists, but people who were interested in learning more when we opened our doors. I mean, we had a strong push of hey, we'll keep you in the loop of when our doors open, and people wanted to know. So that was an easy grab of just like, all right, we have their emails so we can keep them in the loop with that, and then continue to keep them in the loop with things. I think that we can touch on that as much as you want, but the value of email marketing is so huge that people are not taking advantage of, because they relate it to the 52 emails they get from their favorite, apparel place that they're like, oh, this is too much. A lot different than that. But building both of those type of, foundations were important. So when we were ready to roll out with larger announcements and everything, it wasn't to an audience of 12 people. This is a latest development that I guess I'll have more to talk on here in the next few months. But about 6 days ago, I woke up one morning to my entire Facebook account being hacked and taken over, and losing both my personal account and access to my Facebook business account forever. So I'm now having to start from scratch, both from my personal account and compete against myself in the Facebook world to build up a brand new Facebook.
Off air, I'll have to share a story on that.
Okay,
because I had a similar experience.
I would love. I'm all ears. Anyone else out there that's gone through this too, please help. Give me some advice, because this is painful.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, it was a huge gut punch in a time where I really did not need to deal with that. We have some bigger announcements and events coming up that just like, man, I just lost a third of my digital advertising and over one night for no reason.
It's super scary when that happens,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to think how ingrained we are in using social media in our daily lives for our daily tasks. So I think that's part of it. But it is awesome you still have that email list that you can rely on.
Yeah, and we're gonna use our other platforms to help bring awareness that, hey, this happened, help support us again. So we have some stuff in the plans for that. But yeah, have not planned for that one. That was a brand new one in the book.
That's a challenge there. So good luck. Well, we won't dive into that.
Yeah,
but, so go into email marketing real quick, really quickly. When you send out an email to your audience, what are 3 things you want to include in that email?
I want to hit on, more than anything, I want the reason for the emails going out is either to make them aware of different events or different announcements that we have coming up that I feel are important and can appeal to them coming in for another visit. But most importantly, I want it to be extremely easy to digest. And there's a lot that people are dealing with, a lot of people that they're consuming and reading and taking in, that they tend to lose interest a lot in something that's just, all right, you have a lot of things you want to say. You can send out a huge paragraph by paragraph way of doing it.
No one's getting to the bottom.
No one's getting to it. Nope. People who do those long Facebook posts and stuff, and just like, here's what's going on in my life. And like, you get to the 3rd paragraph and you're like, oh,
yeah, too long, didn't read.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm sure this is important, but geez, the Cliff Notes version of it. So really keeping that top of mind of delivering very easy to digest, engaging content is important when getting that email marketing across. And that is very streamlined, that you can look at it and know you're looking at a Studley Brewing email without having to guess, like, who's this from? What's going on here? It's very on brand.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to your branding, which keeps coming up over and over again. So looking at the demographic you marketed to, were they the same people who showed up when you opened?
Yes. For the most part, we're still we're just getting into the sports season and everything. So that's something new that we're starting to dive into. A lot of the initial crowd, I think, were some craft beer enthusiasts, I guess would be one way to put it, that were the early adopters of the craft brewing world that were coming in. And then I was pleasantly surprised. I talked about young families and the younger kind of generation, but we've had a wide range of ages coming through here that have been super supportive and very welcome too, with their patronism here and just overall support of Studley. They've been some of my biggest champions of the brand, which we've really embraced.
So as we've noted, a lot of people who are coming here aren't what you typically think as craft beer drinkers sometimes.
Yeah.
So how has that impacted what you went into when your opening day lineup of your beers? And, looking at your lineup, did you brew with certain styles of beers to attract that audience that you thought would be approachable? And what's been the best selling so far?
Yes.
Or the fan favorite, I should probably say.
Overall, we wanted to brew very approachable beers. And when it gets down to styles, styles at their simplest form, we weren't as big on getting like, all right, let's take this stout and then turn it into something completely off the wall.
You're going to age it in baseball bats, perhaps?
Right? Stuff like that. Don't take my ideas.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. But really getting down to the roots of styles and trying to deliver on types that people really would hit. I mean, we had to have an IPA. One that was a little bit of a curveball, but I knew if I was only going to have a few of my beers available that they would really try. I feel has really taken off has been our red ale. I didn't feel that was one that people really gravitated a ton towards, and I never heard too much feedback on like, hey, our red kills, But
what's the name?
At the Wall. So it's a very crushable red ale. It's not very heavy by any means. It's not bursting with huge flavors of caramel. I mean, it's very easy drinking red ale. One that you would crush basically, and so you're going to be at the wall trying to catch it, or kind of in baseball terms. So that one was on there. Oh, gosh, what else did we have? Everything runs together now. We had a collaboration with a barley wine, which was kind of wild to have on there, but that went over really well. And geez, I can't even remember the third one we had on there now. We had another one. We wanted to have a blonde, but that
I was here totally opening weekend that I don't remember what I tried that weekend.
It all runs together, but at least the red in the long ball, or not long ball, but our Crow Hop IPA, and one more. Anyways, it was only a couple of them. More, I wanted to have more, but just I could have waited and opened a couple, a few more weeks later, and continue to bleed money, or get the doors open and start trying to make some.
Understood. And you've been open almost 100 days. So looking at all those beers you mentioned so far, what are the highlights? Which ones do you see your customers coming back and just craving? Is there that one or two that stand out?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because while we've been open for that amount of days, I mean, we've really only brewed about 11 beers total, and a couple of those have been repeats. One being the red ale. It's really gone over very well, and people love it. And I don't know if that's because they didn't know they liked red ales as much and had a chance to try one and really enjoyed it, or it's just turned out really well. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'm learning this whole commercial brewing scene just as much as anyone else. So is it perfect every time? No, by all means, no. I'm really going for drinkable.
So that's a really good point that I hadn't even planned to bring up. I mean, you were not in the beer industry prior to this. Yeah. You were a home brewer.
Yeah, I home brewed. I had a huge passion for the process, and really dove into studying as much as I could about it. Trained on a commercial system out in Colorado with a mentor of mine, and really tried to, what's the best term, appreciate in the roots of craft brewing, and know that there's a lot of people doing this that have a lot more experience than I do and do a hell of a lot better job than I do at it. But still, there's a lot of people too, and a lot of big names out there now that started somewhere, and I'm starting somewhere with it, and feel passionate that we're going to get there to where it's going to, blow people out of the water.
But you're here to create an overall experience.
Yeah, I was going to touch on this a little bit later, but it's almost like just one part of the trifecta.
I have a Venn diagram of this. I'd love to hear your, okay. Tell me your trifecta.
All right. Well, this one is really focused, at least for us, on the beer, the food, and the experience. Okay, and they all complement each other, but also can help support the other when maybe one of them is not as strong. Does that make sense?
100%.
So, while maybe a beer doesn't land where we want it to be, or people aren't loving it compared to others, well, they are loving the pizza that we're delivering and the overall experience that is really happening here. So it's kind of, it's not being pigeonholed, And what I like about having the food option here in house, which has been so strong, is like you open up a brewery and you don't make good beer, that's going to be a huge problem, you know? Not to say that it's any less of a problem here, but I have a little bit more of a crutch where I can go back on to, hey, we make awesome pizza.
Well, the beer is good too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. But if it's not up to the standards that maybe you want, and maybe the pizza kind of falls off a little bit or something, you're brought back up by the beer. But overarching is the experience of coming here. It's been really the whole, I guess, mission of Studley is the experience of coming here. It is having good pizza, having good beer, but having it here at Studley. And being in that mindset, like we talked about a little bit before, the first place people think of when people come from out of town or something like, oh, we got to take them to Studley. They're going to love it there. You know, something that they can't just package up and buy on the shelf, you know, like, oh, I'll get a Studley frozen pizza in the 6-pack. It's like,
maybe someday though.
Maybe someday, but just kind of like, I remember this funny story. I remember my dad, when we were growing up, he grew up in the Northeast, and White Castle burgers were huge for him. And I guess when he found out that they came in little frozen packs, it's like, oh, you got to try White Castle. It's so awesome. And so we got a pack and we put them in the microwave and we ate them, and they were good, but he's like, there's just nothing like having it there. There's nothing like having it there. And I mean, sure enough, you know, years down the road, have White Castle there, nothing like having it there. And I feel strongly about that with Studley, that it's more than just the pizza tastes so good, the beer tastes so good because of the atmosphere that you're in and that you're providing everyone is what really brings it out.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So my little Venn diagram is you have to make really good beer. That's the top. And then you have that atmosphere, that experience that you're talking about. But then you have to have that engaging staff. And when you have it all come together, you get that wow experience that just blows people's minds.
Yeah.
So I guess a question for you is, you know, when you have people telling their friends, telling their out-of-town guests that we have to come to Studley, what do you hope their reason is why they're telling them to come there? Like, if you had to summarize in like a sentence, what they're going to pitch their friends on about Studley, what's that sentence going to say?
I would say it's probably what I've been hearing the most of, which has been such music to my ears. It's just this warm feeling brewery. It's your hometown brewery. You know, it's home. Is what it really feels like. It's comfortable. It's relaxed. I've had a number of people just walk in the doors, and I'm maybe a little bit numb to it because I come in every single day and every single hour, but it just has this aura to it of just feeling comfortable, warm. Warm is the biggest word that I've been hearing. That they just feel relaxed and chill here, maybe compared to other experiences they're having. So that's been big, and it's just our staff has gone above and beyond. It's a little bit different here, maybe compared to some other breweries, and there's table service. So, you know, that was one.
Was that something you had always planned for?
Yeah. It was. I like the sense of being able to come and sit down, enjoy yourself, knowing you have someone who can come and get your kind of like sitting. We'll relate it back to baseball or back to a sporting event. The VIP seats, the ones closest to home, most comfortable. You have a concessionaire dedicated to y'all that comes to you. You don't have to worry about being in the lines for your hot dog. You don't have to worry about being in lines for your beer. It's like, oh, I need one. Let me get that person to come. Like, that is premium kind of experience. So kind of relating that back to kind of premium experience within the brewery. That's what I kind of related it to, instead of having to do everything yourself.
And when I came here that first day, I mean, it was really early on, but you had so much staff, they just kept touching my table. They kept touching my table. And it wasn't always the same person, which I found interesting.
That's been another interesting thing to kind of get past in customers' minds, that we're really trying to focus on right now, because our restaurants, servers tend to have sections, and they work within their section. Here, they have a section, they have a home base kind of, but everyone helps everyone out. So just like you experienced, which I'd love to hear you happen, you'll see 4 or 5 different faces helping you out. What tends to happen is kind of gone against us people aren't used to that. They're used to having Andrew, you're a server, so I'm going to get everything through Andrew because that's my server. So they'll sit there with an empty glass, get touched 4 times with their empty glass, being asked, "You need anything?" And he's no, fine. Until Andrew comes back around, and it's like, "Hey, Andrew, I need a beer," and then their minds are like, "Oh, it's been forever because I haven't found Andrew." It's like, no. So that's been one of our welcoming tables, just like, "Hey, my name's Andrew. I'm here to take care of you. But I have Gabe, Blake, Dawn over here. We're all in this together as a team. So whatever you need, find any of us. We'll take care of you," kind of thing.
And that really maximized my experience too, because I got to know your staff. They were all there to teach me, and I could order stuff quickly. It was fantastic.
I was talking about this a little bit earlier. Someone was asking about table turns and how important that is to you, and kind of like get people out there. It's like it's different depending on the night, I guess. So like for right now, we have like a music bingo on Mondays, which is one of our slower nights. People are going to sit there and they're going to play. They're not going to turn as much as, say there's not going to be people flooding in the door. So they can sit there for 2 hours. Not taking out a table is great. It would be empty if you left. So not as big of a deal. Friday, Saturday night, what we're trying to minimize is any sort of lag time that would be created by our staff. What I mean that is like, hey, you have dirty plates in front of you, let's get them out of the way. You have a beer that needs to be refilled, let's refill it, or let's say, hey, no, you know what, I'm good. And then when they need to pay, which is one of the second most friction points of a person's experience, partially the second to coming in and actually being greeted, is we do that right at the table. It's when, handhelds, boom, 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 take the pay. You're not waiting to get a check, pick it back up. It all happens all at once, and it's just all taken care of. So we don't want to get you in and out per se, but just make sure that you are subliminally taken care of quickly, to the part where you feel satisfied, you had a good experience, and you can leave when you feel comfortable, not because you're waiting on one of us to check you out or be done with your
experience. That makes sense? It does. Okay. I know. I want to talk about your staff for a minute because, sure. I mean, you've been open, like we mentioned, about 100 days now.
Uh-huh.
And when you had your grand opening, no one had worked at Studley before. It was everybody's first day on the field, so to speak. And so how did you prepare your staff for that? And how did you get them behind your whole mission for everything you've explained so far?
Yeah, it's a lot of leading by example, which I know is maybe a played out phrase, but it's one thing to say it and one thing to do it. Coming from college athletics, you wear a lot of different hats, and you have to do a lot from doing the marketing to maybe pulling tarp on rain delays to selling hot dogs, selling tickets. Like you do a lot of different jobs, even though my job is a marketing guy. So it's knowing that I'm not afraid to do anything that they're doing, and when there's something that needs, like if there's a table that needs to be greeted, I'll go over there and greet it, or we'll run food, we'll clean up, a spill in the bathroom or something, like showing that like, hey, I'm not this overarching person above you and you do my bidding and, I'm your boss and that's it. There is so much respect gained from having that mentality and doing it that way. But also I have to be, yes, Studley, woo! For them to be like, yeah, Studley, for it to trickle. The more people it goes down, the smaller it gets in that sense. So that's kind of the energy that I have. I mean, I have just this natural passion. I mean, I got everything on the line with this. I got a family to take care of and everything. So there's no other option. It's the best exhaustion I ever had in my life. And I'm loving every second of it. But I have to show that energy and that passion for it. And it kind of naturally comes out that they want to take that in and lead from it. There's people are people, whether they're a server, a bartender, a cook, a dishwasher, they're all people just like me and you. So you treat them like people, They may be your employees, but there's, so much more respect you get from just treating them like that. Letting them have a voice, is huge. Dawn, my GM, we had protocols and ways we thought things would flow and not flow, but we were very clear from the beginning, like, hey, we're going to open the doors. And then after this first shift, we're all going to sit down with a pint and we're going to talk over things and what worked, what did not work.
You and Dawn or the entire team?
Well, no, we let it, but then the entire team that were on the floor that were in the trenches, like, all right, tell us what happened. Where did you feel that there was an issue? And then stuff that we saw during the shift, we'd be like, hey, what was up with this, and how did this flow? And our kitchen staff has been great about that too. I've given them, the free reins to be like, all right, mold this system. We had a process down, and it's like, all right, there's obvious hiccups to the flow. How do you feel it should go? You're the ones doing it. Let's keep strong to our product. I don't want to mess away from veer from that. But if there's a better way to do it, then yeah, let's do it. Don't be stuck in like, all right, I said it needs to be this way. It's going to be this way.
Are there any suggestions you remember your staff gave you in those early days that you implemented?
I think it was nice because everyone felt comfortable with each other. That they could have constructive criticism amongst themselves, where it became more of a talk with the team and your colleagues. Like, hey, I know you were doing this, but like I needed help over here. Can we do a better job of just like, I know you want to talk to the tables and have a good time there, but I was in there 8 tables deep because you were here with this one table like that. And it's been very respectful and supportive and constructive enough where it's nipped in the bud right there. One thing, I worked over at a steakhouse down the road here in the restaurant doing serving and bartending.
I do love this. When I met you, you told me you were working part-time there just to get the hospitality experience.
Yeah, because I was lacking a lot with just the specific restaurant piece. One thing that I noticed, and this is big in the industry, but like drama is such a big part with staff. And a big part of it was that just stuff festered and was never addressed. Like even management may know about some of this, but it's like, hey, you got to nip this in the bud before it becomes this giant thing. So that the open communication, open door policy of being able to like, hey, if there's an issue, let's talk about it. Or like, hey, there's an attitude here that we need to talk about that like, this is not Studley. This is not how we talk to our guests. It's not how we address certain situations. And people our staff, we've been lucky, knock on wood, have not had any issues with people, taking in that type of change and criticism of things, which has been really nice.
So you've had these meetings when you started. Are you still having regular team meetings?
Yeah, we'll do, we'll lead shifts off majority of the time, especially with getting everyone on the same page of just like what are changes, what are new beers, new food, new events that we're bringing on, what we need to push, what we need to sell. If people are asking for recommendations on a beer, and maybe there's a beer that like we need to move, it's like, hey, I know you have your favorite, but like let's push this one kind of thing. Everyone getting the same mindset. One thing that's important though is just because you do that for the Thursday shift doesn't mean the Friday shift and the Saturday shift and the Sunday shift know that. So you got to be repeating until your entire crew knows what's up. But over communicating, yeah, it's been huge. So we try to be on top of that as much as possible.
It sounds like those team meetings do a great job of bringing your staff together, get to know one another, empower them, give that openness so they're willing and feel comfortable giving you feedback.
Yeah, and we do a shift beer at the end of shifts, and that time a lot is
that every day?
Good.
For most days?
Yeah.
Wow.
If they want it or not, some people don't, but it's there if they want it, and that's been a really good time I've found to be open with staff and talking if there's anything going on.
That debrief is important.
Yeah, it's almost like they've been doing all this and they get to sit down for a second. I'll pour it for them, and they enjoy it that way. Overall, always running around doing it for others. So it's been nice.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the back of house experience. Because you have pizza, which is fantastic, and so often when breweries add in, a kitchen, which you started with the kitchen, it feels like you're running 2 businesses. First question: do you feel like you're running 2 businesses?
Yes and no, which I know is not a clear answer.
Well, explain yourself. Like
they very much complement each other and go back and forth with each other, I guess. So it's nice to, I guess, in the competitive nature in the area around here, I think there's an opportunity to be a world-class pizza place, and I don't think anyone has really set themselves apart as the leader in that. So I think there's an opportunity to do that, and there's another. And on the flip side, there's an opportunity to be a great brewery in the area. And so there's a great brewery where you can have consistent in-house food in, and then there's a pizzeria where you can have a craft beer, unique craft beer experience instead of walking away with a 2-liter of Pepsi or Coke as your beverage. So those two pieces kind of intertwining with each other has been really nice. But when it gets down to it, I guess, yes, it is completely separate, because how a brewery runs and how a kitchen runs can be very different from, yes, you're ordering ingredients and creating and manufacturing a product, I guess you'd say. But just the ins and outs of the health department and pieces like that versus dealing with the Department of Agriculture, which is, you're not doing food here in at least Virginia. You go through the Department of Ag, where I had to go through everything with the health department. So it was completely different experience like that. Very intense.
Yeah.
I mean, that played a lot into, I want to say, the delay or longer time frame than I thought it would take to open this place. There's just a lot more important hoops, like can't get people sick hoops that you need to take into consideration, but being able to be knowledgeable and understand all the intricacies that go into serving food to people is a lot.
And you hadn't done this before.
No, yeah, and to be able to kind of lead and head a kitchen and hire kitchen staff, I mean, that was intense. But working with a product as simple as pizza, I'm very strong, and just like we have a pizza oven, we're doing everything that we cook is through there. We have salads that we do, and hot dogs, like on rollers.
I mean, you got to do
simple.
hot dogs, right?
But yeah, I mean, it's no brainer. But it's very simple food, but you can't discredit it because I went to the International Pizza Expo in Vegas to learn more. Just I was told, like, hey, you got to do this if you're doing pizza. Did it, and holy cow, like, pizza is such an art and such a whole world in itself that I found myself nerding out on pizza just as much as I did beer, and it was great. And I think that part's been fun about getting to nerd out in two different areas and create something in two different ways, whether it be liquid or food. It's been really interesting in that way. So I enjoy both of them just because it's very unique, to be fun and different and creative with it, but also at the root create something good.
How many items are in your menu?
Geez, we keep on adding. We started with 4 pizzas. We're up to 6 now. And then from there, so 6 pizzas, 2 salads right now. Probably add another, so 6, 7, 8, 9. 11, 14 items. 14 items.
That's not too much.
No. And it's a lot of
similar ingredients, I imagine, for nearly everything.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes in your cost, breaking down the cost of everything and make sure you're not ordering, 20 pounds of one ingredient just for one pizza that may take you a month to get through. So it's being creative with everything that you have on there to kind of create something new, which has been fun.
Do you have a separate staff for your front of house and the back of house?
Yeah, we'll have. So our server bartender, it's like a dual job. So servers can be servers one night, servers can be servers, then bartenders another night, vice versa. To interchange from a labor standpoint, make it easy in case someone calls out. But yeah, back of house, our separate cooks. We run a really small crew. It's only 3 people in back house, 2 pizza folks, and then our dish person is actually our salad person too. So kind of tackle 2 birds with 1 stone there. But,
do you have like a kitchen manager, or is it?
No, it's between myself and my GM, we'll go back and forth, but it's so simple, I guess, that it's not overwhelming to need, at least at this point in the game, to warrant a separate backup house manager per se.
So Blake, how big is your place? I mean, everyone obviously can't see the entire tap room, but what's the square footage of the entire facility?
Yeah, well, it's roughly about 3,600 square feet. We're taking up 2 units in this strip mall area here. We have seating for a little over 100 inside and about 30 outside. Capacity inside is about 140 and change. So while we could expand a few more seats, it starts to get a little bit crowded. Possibly it's been kind of interesting. I backed off of it, but we had the unit next to us become available, and we've had a lot of private event requests and stuff. It's right now, but I went very far to almost signing the lease. Everybody. Yeah, but it was like we were 2 months in.
Yeah,
I was like, we're still getting this place up and running. Like here, felt that was a little bit too much to bite off, but I think if the opportunity presents itself down the road, we'll expand there. I've always looked at this as kind of a forever location. Plan for the second location to be, or I guess second phase of Studley to be a second location.
There's probably a few spots near my house that'd be great for this.
Yeah, right?
I would visit quite regularly.
I'd love to have it connected to a ball field of some sort.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
Right?
So, going kind of into the design aspect a little bit, when you first had this vision, this place was an empty room. You did a lot of work. How do you feel about the design of both front of house, back of house, the flow? Are you satisfied with how it came out? Any changes you would/can make, or would/wish you did?
Good question. One of the reasons we fell in love with this location in particular is because it had a lot of good phones with it. So a lot of the build out costs we inherited. The bar was already built. We had a huge 20-foot hood system in there. Some big floor drains in different areas were already in. We did had to do minimal digging up of the floor, walk-in cooler. Some of those big ticket items are there. So it's we've made it work for our for our layout without completely gutting the place. If I gutted it and redid it, yeah, I probably would have made some changes, and it would have been great to have a direct draw system with our kegs instead of worrying about a 35-foot long draw. That part's kind of annoying, but we've made it work. And as far as the aesthetics of the place, that's something we're very proud of. Really incorporating to all the smallest, minute pieces, the baseball, theme and feel of Studley. Something I really took from a few books I've read, through Disney and everything, which has been huge.
Give a recommendation of a book right now. Anything that anyone listening needs to read?
I would say, going on that Disney vibe, there's one book, Creating Magic. Can't remember the author, but it's from a former Disney employee there. But it really touches on how you have experiences, and you really amplify those to the best of their abilities in every single aspect of the experience with your customers. Is one that we were kind of like, it was mandatory for us to read when I was at Wake Forest University, and so glad we did it, because it really gives you a better mindset of what a customer goes through and how you can make it that sensational experience.
So I'm gonna have to read that big book first off. And creating experience is something I love. No, you have so many cool little baseball touches in here. Have you found that there's that one that your fans are just taking pictures in front of or posting on social media?
Yeah, I know you can't see right now, but there's a giant freaking
turn it around real quick.
So yeah, so this this was kind of like a what does Bob Ross call a happy accident, or
happy accident, I believe.
Yeah. So our plumber collects a bunch of stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I bought at auction these giant fiberglass Christmas ornaments from the city of Portsmouth, and I've had them for years. This business is called Planet Plumbing." So he was planning to turn one into a giant planet. Never happened. And he's like, "Yeah, you could use one, paint a baseball or something." So we're like, "Yeah, sure." So we bought one, we cut it in half, and then I had this great mural artist who did.
What was it like cutting it in half?
Messy and sharp and dangerous. Fiberglass, cutting fiberglass is not the best.
Were you wearing any cool goggles in your face?
About 3 seconds in, we stopped and said, "Hey, we should probably put some more stuff on instead of squinting." So we cut it up and mounted up there, and then painted into a baseball, and it's really been one of the largest focal points of the place.
It's very Instagrammable.
Very Instagrammable, which I was excited about. But it was one that we didn't plan, but it just kind of fell in our lap, I guess.
A happy accident.
Happy accident.
That's a good one. So one thing you talked about earlier in your demographic you were trying to attract is like ball clubs. You wanted baseball teams to come celebrate here.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the value of community partnerships in your space.
Yeah, it's something we're just starting to kind of dip our toes in.
Why is it important to you?
I mean, like we talked about being hyper local, supporting that community. I felt it's just been one of those things that comes with being a brewery. It just seems to go kind of hand in hand of supporting the community, supporting those around you, and giving back is a huge part to those that play such a big role in supporting your business as a small business, whether it be a brewery or anywhere else. So we've just started to be able to kind of like, I guess, be able to have some funds to be able to do some of that. Some of that was like, hey, I'd love to right now, but like, I got to get the doors open, and we got to make sure we do that. Now we've gotten to a part where we're starting to be able to explore those partnerships and find ways that we can really tie into helping the community. But at the same time, we're making it make sense with our brand. So one like the ball clubs, youth sports here in the area is a big one for us that falls hand in hand with what we're doing. Like we talked about relating with families and everything. There's one partnership that we haven't really gotten off the ground yet, but one with a group up in Richmond, Lasers Ladybugs, that we're excited to really dive into a partnership with. But they focus on providing mental health awareness and help for elementary school age kids. Kind of at the root there, which we're all about families and kids here. Made a lot of sense to really dive into. And their founder used to work with Virginia Tech Athletics, so there was that kind of athletics tie in there. Just felt right. So it was some of those that make sense with our brand that we want to support. Of course, we want to support as many as we can, but
it has to make sense.
It has to make sense, and you can't do 1,000 and give $1 or something. Or if we do want to give 1,000, that's something that we feel would be more impactful. Not to say that all of our partnerships are money based per se, but other ways that we can help out, being who we are and how we can help support that community group.
No, I like that. No, Blake, I mean, you also have a family. So, I mean, I imagine your wife looked at you pretty funny when you told her you were ready to open a brewery. I'm sure that was a fun conversation to have.
My wife is one of the most risk-averse people on the face of the planet. And I still to this day, she says still to this day, she has no idea how she agreed to this, but has really been such a huge support and my biggest cheerleader through all this, and someone that has wanted to be a part of it and wanted to help support in any way that she's like, I don't know anything about running a brewery or anything, so let me know how I can help. But I mean, anything down just the emotional support and everything that goes into this, and being a sounding board. And we have right now about to be 3 and a 5-year-old at home too. So being there for them and helping support them. I mean, you're a family guy too. How tough it can be spending so many hours here and worried about missing those little opportunities and stuff and milestones as they grow up. So there is a very tough line that can be drawn between those two. We have a great standing Thursday family dinner night here at Studley. So every Thursday we sit down and have dinner together here at Studley, which is really awesome, especially if things are crazy and everything. So we make it happen, and I have a great support staff here that is very supportive and are very like, hey, go be with them. Take some time. We got this. And I've really been able to let the reins go.
And that's hard to delegate in for, especially your baby. This is your new business. Yeah. You're 3 months old, and you're giving them the ability to run the place.
Yeah.
Well, you're trusting them. That's important.
That's been huge, especially for my mental state and everything too. And I really pushed you a lot out there to be able to trust in your people. You brought them on for a reason. Not to say you just go completely off hands, but make some time for yourself, for time with your family. I mean, it does wonders. So we get that time. Sundays is kind of my off day here right now. So I'll spend the entire day with them and make time. We make it work.
So when your kids go to school and the teacher asks what their dad does, what do you think they say?
Oh, they say he works at Studley. My little 3-year-old, or about to be 3. He's like, where's this Studley? But he's cute. I mean, and my daughter's the same way. Just like he works at the brewery, so they're very open with it, and are proud of it. I like it. My son will walk around, and I'll often have like a dish towel in my back pocket, to carry out things or whatever, wipe things down. So he'll get there and he'll grab my towel, put it in his back pocket, and then we have like a little toy pizza set in the kids area. He'll go around and serve random people pizzas at the tables and everything.
Sounds like he's your mascot.
Yeah, right. So it's also interesting too. I wonder, as a dad right now, starting this out, I wonder what down the road will look like and what they will say their childhood was like. And what dad does and what they support and how involved they want to be with the business. Of course, I'll support them either way of what they want to, run Studley or not. But I thought about that kind of recently. I was like, gosh, I hope I'm doing this right.
What's your legacy going to be? Where do they play in?
Yeah. It'll be interesting next few years that go by, I hear, pretty quickly. Little ones.
Oh, with kids and running a business, it will go by very quickly.
Yeah.
Now let's go into rapid fire round right now. We're in extra inning, so to speak, right now, Blake. So, is there anything that's gone totally wrong since you've opened?
That's gone totally wrong. I would say I wrote something down for this because you did give me a.
Well, and if not, congratulations.
No.
There
was. I had a good answer for this. How many different directions I would actually get pulled in, and
is it more or less?
More.
You didn't expect that?
I expected some. Well, it's just there's so much of your time being in a brewery, I mean, if you're doing it all yourself, I don't have a head brewer or anything like that. So, I'm wearing a lot of hats right now. Maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe not. We'll see what the.
Are you
financials
outsourcing some aspects of the business at all? Whether it's finance, marketing?
Yeah, we're our accounting, which has been a godsend. I mean,
shout them out.
Beer CPA, what up? The mic works are awesome. But yeah, and then the John Smanskowitz with the attorney
Beer Law Center
has been a phenomenal person to talk to. We've had some great engaging conversations. So some of those things where I know I'm not the person to do it, I've outsourced.
Can't be the MVP about everything.
I know, right? But the amount of hats and, like, for example, spent an hour and a half this morning talking to the credit card processing, compliance stuff,
Fun.
whereas like I didn't expect to talk about that at all today. So that took away from tanks I got to clean. You know what I mean? So it's always kind of something like that. There's not that I've been in college athletics, relating the two, there's always curveballs. There's always something that happens or comes up. So it's adjusting, adapting to that. But not that I didn't have pride doing what I did in college athletics, but when it's all my own and, my baby, like you're saying, you want to go above and beyond for everything. So just realizing how these little things add up.
Every little thing adds up.
Adds up to something.
100%.
So people are like, so what'd you do today? It's like, well, shoot, I don't know if I did really anything.
but the day ended somehow.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know really what I accomplished today besides put out fires, I guess. I mean,
those days are interesting because there's some days you tackle one big project and the day goes by and you feel really accomplished. And there's other days you touch on 15 different projects and the day's gone by, but you don't feel like you did a lot, but you helped out in so many different little aspects
chipped
of the
away
business.
at all these little things. But yeah, and you got to rely on, I mean, that was a big part of the build out too. Another thing that I didn't expect, that I don't want to say went completely wrong, but I did not anticipate being such an ordeal. But I mean, the whole process from the permitting to the build out to all the different licenses, just everything that goes into getting the doors open, how many people you have to check with. And you're not priority number one with all those different people. So you're on their schedule for so many different things. And sometimes you'll get to that person and they'll be like, oh, you missed this. So come back to me when you fix that. It's like you started all over again. So I guess factory, that was a big, people are like, what? Why did it take you so long? And I was like, bro, you have no idea.
So looking at how long it thought it would take to get open versus reality when you got open, talk to me about comparisons there.
I mean, we're talking a good 12 months extra, It was wild, just how time flies when you're not having fun.
So did that surprise you how long it took, or what surprised you about everything that's happened thus far to this day?
Yeah, I mean, that part surprised me. That was one of those kind of things, I don't want to say, like you said, kind of completely got wrong, but, being new and being 100 days in, that's still fresh on my brain about how everything came into play. But that part, maybe how impatient some folks were. I mean, they're excited. They're excited to see Studley, but it almost felt like they're like came in here like, shit, we've been waiting for you to open. I'd be like, yeah, me too. So it was great that we finally got to laugh and have a good time over a pint about it and talk about it being open.
So something you got totally wrong. That's something surprised you a little bit.
Yeah. And then I guess something that went really right.
Yeah, what went really right? That you were like, yes, I nailed it. What did you throw your hands up in the air and just get loud like you did a couple minutes ago?
I think the biggest thing was just how right it was to bring this opportunity here to Chesapeake and how overall supportive the community has been, the people here in this area. That part I was hoping was the case, but we weren't really going to know until we got in here and opened the doors. But man, the amount of people that have talked to me and just been like, gosh, I want you to succeed. I want this to be it. I wanted this to be this unit in particular has not had the best of luck with tenants. So, they're like, man, we just want this to be the place, and that's exciting. Complete strangers, people like I don't know from Adam. Yeah. Besides them just being neighbors, are really rooting for this to go well. And they all have ideas, and I love them for it. They have great ideas, and some stuff we've used. But at the root of it, I just know that it's all coming from a good place, and that they feel almost bought in, and they're not investors. They're just people that are just bought in and own. They feel a part of Studley, and that part has been the rewards of that feeling, and knowing that, hey, we're doing something right. I think that we're on the right path here, and that we took it at a pace that we're making sure we're doing it the right way, to the best of our abilities. I think it's been really impactful, and love those Chesapeake folks out there, surrounding area. Y'all have been awesome. Thank you so much.
Keep coming to visit Studley.
Yeah.
Now, looking at, you talked about how great it feels to have your community backing you. That's amazing. But like for you, what does success look like when you can look at this place, just have a pint in your hand, sit in the back corner of the dugout and say, I'm successful? What does that look like?
I think more so, instead of sitting back and looking at it with a pint, one of my favorite things to do here when we're open is to go around and talk to all the people and say, hey, how's everything going? So thank you so much for coming in. Just having all of those conversations be so warm and so like just happy, and just relaxed, I think has been a real big kind of benchmark for me, that like, hey, this vibe, this feeling in here just feels right. I'm a big measurement numbers, like, let's measure it somehow. But for this, what I'm talking about right now, it just feels right. And it's hard to explain without experiencing it, and coming in here and having that type of experience, I think is what I feel like, hey, this is good.
I like that. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, it makes, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a final question now that I thought I would start with, but we'll end with it now.
Oh, gosh.
Sporting events, you hear, I don't know if they're still called like the Jock Jams, or like, the sporting event songs that really get you pumped.
Yeah.
If one of those songs was like the mantra for your past 3 months,
oh gosh,
what one of those songs, which one would it be?
Oh man, that's tough.
Like if you had to walk in every day and hear the same song over again, that got you pumped. A weird version of Groundhog's Day there.
Oh, I can't say the song that would be like that. It's a little too raunchy. Let's see. Out of all of them, man, you really put me on the spot.
I did.
With this.
It was a question that wasn't on the outline there.
No, that's fine.
But as a sports fan,
I'm taking this really personally, because like I played the music at different at
so you want to make
events.
sure you pick the right song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
feel like you're going to pick the Macarena. Is that going to be the one you're going to pick?
The Macarena does hold a special place in my heart, because I was a kid when it first started coming out and thought I was the coolest person in the world dancing to the Macarena.
Maybe Who Let the Dogs Out, perhaps?
Who Let the Dogs Out is also a fun one, because the back and forth. Oh, I hate to say this one. This is going to kill me a little bit, because I'm such a Yankees fan, and fellow Yankees fans will probably grimace at me saying this, but a little bit of that Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline kind of thing. And I think it's because of the camaraderie that the song brings when you come in. There's probably a billion other camaraderie songs I could have picked, but that was one of the first ones that popped in my head. So I'll go with Sweet Caroline. Gosh, my wife's going to love this one. She's a huge Red Sox
hopefully
fan.
She won't make it to the end, but
right.
That's a fun one. It's a song that definitely makes you think of that sports experience, and it's not like you get to the end, you hear everybody singing it, everybody's in this together.
Or Don't Stop Believing.
I wish I had it on cue right now. So I guess looking at the past 3 months of opening and your journey to get here, what's one piece of advice you have to give for anyone, whether they're in the journey that you were in a year ago, or whether they're going through it right now? What's one piece of advice that you would give to them besides don't stop believing?
Well, going off of that mantra, if you have that passion and that drive and a vision that you're going after, don't let the naysayers or those who may be afraid to do the risk that you're about to do, don't let them knock you down so much to thinking that you cannot or should not do it. You know, if your heart of hearts and soul is saying like, hey, this is what I want to do. I mean, this is, I guess maybe talking to those who may be thinking about this and everything. But even now as a business and running it the way that you want to run it, but we built our brand and we built our vision off of that feeling that I had. So staying true and strong to that, and don't let the outside voices come and cloud that because they don't agree or don't see it, I guess, how you see it really following through. That part has been, I'm so thankful that, you know, that God willing, this has all worked out. It's so funny, just all the different little nuances and things that the moon's aligned, I feel. Could it have gone a different way? Maybe so. But, I mean, even getting introduced to you, you know, your introduction to the Main Best thing, shout out Main Best, pretty awesome if you're looking to raise money. But even that little instance, I mean, I was in a dark place right then, and that was kind of a light at the end of the tunnel that helped out.
To watch how quickly you raised money on that platform was pretty impressive. Not gonna lie, you had a lot of people come behind you.
It was very, very. I mean, it helped reassure that this was going down the right path.
I think Chesapeake needed you.
Yeah, it was fun, and I needed them more than they think. This has been such a rewarding experience. And the great part is, and I think this is what gets me so amped up the most too, is like, I know we're just getting started, and like, this is just the beginning. Like we haven't even unloaded everything yet. Just everything we have, and you know, having that minor league baseball mentality, that fun entertainment type of, you know, I know a lot of the hot team right now, the Savannah Bananas kind of thing of, you know, having that fun off the wall, creative, entertaining experience is something we're really going to play off here in the next couple of years. That now that we're established kind of a foundation, I'm excited to really throw out there.
Well, it's been amazing following your journey so far. I'm so proud of where you are today. 3 months in, can't wait to do this again soon. Well, Blake, congratulations. We have empty pints right now. I would give you a little cheers, but thanks for hanging out today.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.